Shit,
This is how this is a good picture, right?
That's perfect right there. It's just a big.
The mic's not in front of me, right?
You look like a trill. Hey, friendos, welcome back to the Friendoville podcast. Usually I don't do like a fancy intro, but I'm trying to like from the ground up, just trying to add little things to the podcast. I might whip together between now and Tuesday like a little jingle at the beginning. Nothing fancy, just like
have a good jingle. That's fun.
Some like dope beats. I mean, as you guys can probably already tell, Jeff has got a microphone now.
I do.
As opposed to
I just have to make sure it doesn't block my face. So I think this is good.
That's perfect. That's great. It's near. I can't even see the microphone. But like last week, it was like, and the week before, it was like, "Oh, I'm Jeff. What?
Yeah, you said it wasn't great, and then I actually went to listen to the podcast, which is on Google Podcast, by the way, for all you Android folks like me.
Yes.
And I listened to it. I got like 30 seconds in, and I'm like, why does it sound like I'm literally talking into a toilet? Why? Because I was using the mic on these earbuds, and these just came with my phone. Like they're obviously it's not great. And meanwhile, I literally have two snowballs, like perfect good snowballs in my closet. Like, what am I doing?
I don't want to tell you what to do though. I'm like, you're my best friend. I want to be like, hey, can you get a microphone out? I don't know what you got where you don't.
Why don't you approach professionalism, jackass? How about that? Just get into the vicinity, just the general neighborhood.
Just go door to door and hopefully somebody will give you some professionalism. Oh man. So yeah, like you said, it's now on Android devices.
Google Podcasts.
It's on Apple.
You've got it on Apple.
It's on Spotify too. Spotify is remarkably easy to get on.
That's good.
So it's there. And then, if you've stumbled upon this somehow, I did this week also. I have no idea if even anybody's paying attention. People don't usually pay attention to anything on the weekends. I did like a question thread on the YouTube channel that the video version of this podcast. Oh yeah, nobody's left us any questions, but I just did it like 15 minutes ago. So who knows? Maybe somebody will leave a question. But yeah, if you guys want to ask a question, at the end of the show, we'll answer some questions about whatever the topic is we're talking about. And I figured this week, just to loosen things up a little bit, it'd be fun to sort of do something different. Like, last couple of weeks have been like kind of half-assedly reviewing stuff. Have you been watching anything this week? What have you been checking out this week?
Random stuff. I got into Bored to Death, that show that was on a couple years ago. It was based on the Jonathan Ames novels and stuff with Jason Schwartzman and Zach Galifianakis and Ted Danson.
Yeah.
I remember watching like an episode or two of it when it came out initially, and then just falling off it. And then I just started watching it again, and I really love it. The character that Galifianakis plays is actually based on, I think, Jonathan Ames and Dean Haspiel are friends in real life. And Haspiel actually does all the artwork because Galifianakis is playing a comic book artist. So Haspiel did all that. And I've been a big Dean Haspiel fan for a while, so it's fun to see.
Active? Is he? I
think so. I mean, I assume so. I would guess he's got to still be in New York.
Yeah.
He probably just does like New Yorker cartoons and shit too, or maybe, I don't know. Yeah, just like magazine, doing graphics for magazines.
Oh, that's cool. They have a podcast apparently.
Oh, Ames and Haspiel?
No, Haspiel and Josh Neufeld, his longtime collaborator. I'm just reading this on the Wikipedia. They had that was back in 2019. It was called Scene by Scene with Josh and Dean. And it focused on Harvey Pekar and specifically the American Splendor movie. So maybe it was a short. Like it was meant to be a shorter podcast, or maybe they're still doing it. I don't know. Dean Haspiel's great. We followed him in the comic scene a long time ago.
Yeah.
And, he did a lot of like very personal sort of comics. But yeah, no, he was terrific. That American Splendor movie is pretty great, man.
Yeah, it's great. Did I take you to I know I went to the American Splendor premiere. It was at, I don't think I took you though. I think my boss took me to that one. I don't think I was able to take you to it, but it was really cool.
Yeah.
One of the producers, Ted Hope, was friends with Dean Haspiel. And that's apparently how I got exposed to American Splendor, because Haspiel did a bunch of American Splendor with Harvey Pekar.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great movie.
What a great career. Like you just sort of just jot down your like life, your sort of, I don't know, thoughts and philosophies on life in general. and then your diary basically, and then like these world class cartoonists like Ed Piskor got his start with Harvey P. Cartoon.
Yeah.
And these world class cartoonists like Crumb, like drawing your shit.
Yeah.
That'd be
God,
cool.
Piskor's great. Yeah, that'd be
He's
awesome.
fantastic. Yeah. It'd be kind of fun. Like today, there's nothing really to hook onto. So it was always fun to do sort of nerdy topics. And I ran a couple ideas past you, and then you came up with one that was pretty cool. I was like, hey, it'd be kind of cool to do. This is really nerdy, an MCU draft. We each try to draft like the best team out of the MCU, which we might still do down the line. Maybe when Loki drops.
That's a fun idea.
We'll do that. A summer movie preview. Summer's coming up. So summer things are so different now with movies though because of streaming. It's like,
Yeah, I mean, I think
mishmashed.
the sort of the business was going that way for a while, and then the pandemic just like accelerated it because it just had to, really.
Yeah.
But I think the theaters will come back. I think they're coming back,
Do you think there's going to be more of the kind of thing that Warner's is doing where they're going to drop sort of same day on their streaming service? You think that's going to be like a thing even going forward?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, you're seeing interesting stuff too now. It's like Netflix was always like kind of against putting stuff in theaters, but now they're having movies that are just too big. Like they're going to put Army of Dead in the theaters on a limited run.
When's that coming out?
That looks great. Like a month.
Ooh, we're definitely going to review that one because that looks great.
Yeah, that looks like a great flick. It's just like a real fun flick. Yeah. That one. Yeah.
And then you said, what about comic book characters we want to see in movies? So I was like, yeah, comic books that we want to see made into movies.
Yeah, I love that. Let's go with that. I think that's
we're gonna do that. Obviously, before we get into it too deep, the movies that I want to see made out of comic books are these ones right here, which you can get right now at mfshophere.com, and you can help support this podcast by doing so. This one was written by you and drawn by me. This is our actual collaborative.
Our collab, yeah.
The one thing nobody can ever take away from us is that we did a comic book together, which I'm very proud of.
Yeah, it's funny. Really cool I was like in my local comic book shops around North Hollywood and Burbank. I always walk in and they have like creators who live in the neighborhood, and they have some great stuff in there. And I'm always like in the back of my mind, I'm like, I could just give these guys, like I talk to those guys all the time. I look all the guys at my comic book shops, and I was just like, they'd probably sell these.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
I'll send you out. I'll send you like 20.
I'm too bashful. I'll talk about nerd stuff with nerds, but like I don't want to talk about myself. That was our failing as publishers, just like marketing. We just couldn't
we were really
get our
bad
stuff out there.
Networking and marketing. I always felt like I could always come up with like cool ideas to. I don't know, man. I feel like we were born too early or something, because I feel like these days it's a little bit easier, like doing a podcast and getting out there but yeah, I think sort of like going up and breaking the ice with people and like joining cliques of other comic book nerds, other creators and stuff. It just wasn't our jam. Like we were very much sort of, we had each other to lean on. Yeah. And so we'd prefer to just sit there and make fun of other people.
Yeah, but we were going to, because we had day jobs that were very taxing, which is why we were able, and we didn't have kids. None of us had kids at the time. You have a kid now, I don't. Yeah. But none of us were in relationships or had kids at the time, and we, didn't have any expensive habits, and making comic books kind of turned into like, like kind of a drug habit or something. We were just kind of like, we were just kind of burning money for a while, which was fun, and I'll always love it. Yeah, it was a blast. But like, dropping hundreds of dollars on a Comic-Con booth and doing stuff like that, so much fun, and that was like us blowing off steam. So then at night at the cons, we'd just be like, let's go out and get some drinks and like eat a couple burgers and just relax, So
we really didn't. Hindsight is everything, obviously, and I probably if asked these days, I'm like, I don't know crap about how the industry works these days. I don't. I know that Diamond, I know Marvel just left Diamond distribution.
That's crazy. I remember when we texted about that when it happened a couple of weeks ago. We were both just shocked. I was so shocked.
Yeah, I mean, these days it's funny because I do honestly feel like, doing it on the side, because I have a short story, like a 15-page maybe comic that's basically done. And I'd like to get it out there, and it's messed up that I feel like because I've been able to grow an audience in a completely different thing, doing something completely different. I've been able to make somewhat of a connection with an audience, Like now I can sell this stuff sort of, sight unseen. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
I was doing this 20 years ago. Do you guys want it? Me and Jeff, we did this 20 years ago. You guys want to buy it? You can buy it now. And it's more like just because of the other stuff that I do, but it makes it easier to sell stuff to people.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, so I've sold like way more of these
Yeah,
now
but
than we did back then.
But you also have the potential to do something that's sort of adjacent to what you do, what your audience. Because I remember, maybe close to a year ago, pretty early on in the pandemic, I texted you. I was like, "You guys ever think about doing a tabletop game, just like a wrestling themed tabletop game?"
Yeah.
And I thought about that a lot. I even started making some sketches about how the playing would work and stuff like that. And we could just do that.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
Put it on Kickstarter. It'd be a blast.
Well, that's the cool thing about doing a podcast like this is that, it's just another way to build, some community and then, sell stuff to them.
Yeah.
Sell shit.
Yeah.
Kevin Smith, that's one thing about Kevin Smith is
Yeah.
that you could say what you want to about his movies. And I personally am a fan of his career.
100%.
And I like some movies more than others, but it's like, man, like that dude has built like organically a very wonderful like community, and he's been able to make a career off it, which is great, because if you have people who want to buy into what you're doing, and it's not like a like a parasocial relationship where you're just taking advantage of people, you're actually selling them stuff that they are legitimately interested in.
Oh yeah,
and you're putting your your heart and soul into something like this. Then everybody comes out on top. But MF Shop here, you can see what Jeff and I were up to 20 years ago. But I'm telling you, man, write me something new, and we'll do something else. We make a big deal.
I did. Yeah, you've been saying that. You've saying that to me for a couple months at this point, and I had a couple ideas, but I actually had a dream, and I'll get into it later because one of the comic books that I would love to see adapted is going to be on my list. I had a dream that's sort of adjacent to it, but I'll get you something.
And then today I stopped by. You know what you should do? You know what we should do? We should start doing some He-Man comic books. I bought this He-Man. This is a Skeletor action figure. We should do some He-Man comics.
There's some serious licensing that would have to go into that. I
think that Man-He.
Oh boy. Yeah. Oh, that's like, you remember we were doing comic books and I was like, hey man, let's do a comic about a British valet from the Navy, because in the old British Navy their valets were called Batmans, and I was like, how about a British valet who's a detective and he's Batman, Master Detective, and you're just like, do you want to get sued? I was like, no, but it's not Batman, it's a Batman, and he's a detective.
We'll do
so
it.
Stupid.
We'll do it. We're so small fry. I mean, that's the thing, man. They can't. It's not even going to be worth it to them. For them to like sue us, because like.
It'd be free publicity. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it'd be better like those people who made
take us to court, Warner Brothers, DC. Yeah,
I'll vlog it.
We're not doing a comic book about Batman. We're doing a comic book about a Batman.
Yeah.
Who happens to be a detective. Totally different. Get out of my
Not
face.
A shared universe.
He also dresses up like a bat, but that's unrelated.
Right. That's that's a fetish. It's a fetish of his.
Totally. Yeah.
He wants to fuck bats. All right, dude. So what's your number 5? So we each have 5 comics that do you have casting choices for some of these too?
Oh, I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah, I could do some on the fly. I mean, I'm thinking like, comics are comic characters, and I was thinking about in the DC universe, I'm a bigger fan of some of the more obscure characters.
Yeah.
You recently saw Martian Manhunter, John Johns briefly spoiler alert, at the end of Snyder's Justice League, which was actually okay. It was a bit long.
Yeah.
And then it's a bit long. Yeah. I've always been a big Martian Manhunter fan. I've always been a huge Dr. Fate fan. I'm stoked that Pierce Brosnan's playing him.
Yeah,
that's like my trifecta. My trifecta is John Johns, Dr. Fate, and the third in the DC universe that I would legit love to see is Blue Devil.
Oh, that's cool.
I really love Blue Devil. He's a pretty obscure character.
Yeah.
He sort of pops up randomly.
Yeah.
In different storylines and plays like really interesting, significant parts. Like, you remember he popped up at the sort of the beginning of Blackest Night.
Yeah.
But he's just such a great character.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see that adapted and given the big screen treatment, because you could go a couple different ways. It could be pretty serious, but he was also like always a very fun character too. Actually inspired by the mascot for a some college, just a Blue Devil. It's a North Carolina mascot, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. No, that's great. I'll go next. This one would be like, honestly, if they were like, hey, you got the keys to the kingdom, which one would you make? This is like my top. And it's Lobo, starring Dave Bautista.
Oh, okay.
Directed by James Gunn, of course.
Oh, that'd be a blast. That sounds so much fun. That sounds like so much fun. I would love to watch that. I'm so looking forward to his Suicide Squad, by the way.
I know. Yeah. That first trailer was outstanding. Oof, it was so good.
So great.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to that quite a bit. And I'm like, man, like now if they ever did a Lobo movie and it's not Dave Bautista directed by James Gunn, I'm just gonna be massively disappointed. I don't care who it is. It could be somebody awesome and great, but I'm like, man, Bautista's so. You watched that Blade Runner sequel a little while back, right? 2049.
Yeah, God, I really loved Denis Villeneuve.
He's terrific.
That was just such a great movie.
Is there a better wrestler turned actor than Bautista?
Well, I mean, there's definitely bigger. Like The Rock is definitely
bigger,
the biggest
but better
star ever. Oh, interesting question. I mean, Terry Funk did a couple really solid turns in the '80s. Pops up in Roadhouse. I always liked him. He had sort of a subtle thing. I would have wished. I think he popped up in like A-Team and stuff like that.
He was in an episode
randomly.
of Quantum Leap too.
Yeah. I always love seeing Terry Funk, but he was never like in big movies or anything like that.
Yeah.
Who else? Yeah, I mean,
like CM Punk has done some horror movies lately, which is kind of cool.
Oh, really?
It'd be interesting to see that guy get some more like movie work, but who knows what he even wants to do, you know? He seems to have fun just sort of doing just like weird shit that just keeps him interested, you know?
Yeah.
But Batista's the fucking man, dude.
He's great.
Yeah.
Not only is he just a good actor, but he's got great charisma. He seems like a genuinely sweet person.
Seems like an awesome
genuinely
dude, He's in Knives Out too. He's in the second Knives.
Oh,
he just got cast.
I can't wait for that. I love Knives Out. That was the last movie I saw in the theater too. Right before
it was probably
the
one of the last ones. It was either that or The Lighthouse. I forget which one. The Lighthouse is a great movie, though.
I still haven't seen The Lighthouse. I got to watch it.
Oh, man, you'll love it. It's so darkly comical.
Yeah, I just I missed it in the theater, and then I know it's a very claustrophobic movie, and being closed in my apartment most of the last year, I was like, I don't want to watch that right now.
Yeah. Willem, they're both, Pattinson and Dafoe are just amazing in that movie.
I really love Robert Pattinson.
Oh, he's great.
I think he's great.
I can't wait for that Batman movie.
I can't wait for that Batman. I think he's great. The stuff that he's done with Cronenberg, Cosmopolis is really
I never
good.
did see that. Was that good?
Yeah, I recommend it for sure. You know what a big Cronenberg fan I am.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right, so speaking of Knives Out, I'll just go with my next one, and then you can go with your next one.
Cool.
So this is my favorite comic book of all time, and it's the Justice League reboot they did back in '87. Oh, yeah. And so they've already got, the funny thing is they already have, like, if you look at this cover here, you got this guy already in the DC movies. This guy has just been cast in that HBO Max series for the Green Lantern.
Wait, who's playing him?
Oh, man. So, God, I forget his name. He's not a redhead. He was in an FX show about, hold on a second.
I'll look it up. I got it.
So
Finn Whitrock?
Yeah, that sounds right. And people seem to like him quite a bit. So I don't really know much about him besides he was in an FX show about like Versace or something.
Yeah, I saw that guy in a movie recently.
People seem to like him. They seem to like him. I wonder how faithful they're going to be to his character. So you've already got Pierce Brosnan. You've got Zachary Levi. You got the dude you just said. Batman, I mean, I know that, like, who knows what DC's doing with, like, who is in whose universe? Like, you would think that if you're going to do, the Shazam series, I mean, isn't that kind of set? That's supposed to be set in, like, with the same Gal Gadot Wonder Woman universe and stuff?
I believe so, yeah.
Like, I guess the Flashpoint movie's supposed to settle all that stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't.
Is Keaton going to be their Batman now?
I mean, DC's doing something with their continuity, right? Are they headed towards like an Infinite Crisis type thing, or what's going on with that?
Flashpoint is supposed to figure that out.
Okay.
Like, I think from what I understand, like the last thing I read, like Keaton was eventually supposed to be like that proper continuity's Batman.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I'm cool with that because he's great.
I love Michael Keaton.
I don't know how they're going to pull it off. You've already got this guy here. If you want to go back to the Snyder,
you know what?
Martian Manhunter.
Honestly, that was like right at the tail end of that movie, I super marked out because you know how much I love Martian Manhunter, and I forget the gentleman's name who played him, but he was only on screen briefly, but he was fantastic. I loved it.
And then Booster Gold's not on here, but you got Blue Beetle. I've got an idea for him. I've got if you want to do a Blue Beetle Booster Gold series, Adam Scott for Blue Beetle.
Oh my God, Adam Scott as Blue Beetle would be fantastic.
And how about this? Booster Gold, Andy Samberg.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Would that be good? Would that be good?
Yeah.
And then
Adam Scott as Blue Beetle is perfect, though.
So that would be, and it'd be Ryan Johnson's latest effort. Big ensemble, like
great.
the Knives Out movies.
Perfect.
Do that. And then Mr. Miracle, I'd also want him in his own movie, but Riz Ahmed, who I love in everything.
He's great.
He's great, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the Mr. Miracle. Did you read the Mr. Miracle Tom King series?
Yeah, honestly, that was going to be on my list. I won't do it now.
Yeah. No, that was mine too.
Oh, really? You're going to do that?
Yeah, because it's amazing. It's like honestly the best comic book I've read in years.
Yeah,
years.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Terrific. So,
I'll pivot off that one though. We don't want it, both of them. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go now.
Yeah.
Because I got one that I'd love to see, and it is Totally Awesome Hulk.
Great. Yeah.
Really great story. I only read the first collection of graphic novel. I think it was first 5 or 6 issues. Greg Pak wrote it. I'm blanking on the name of the artist. It's really great, really fun art, and it was such a fantastic take on the Hulk as a character.
Yeah.
In short, it's Amadeus Cho, who Greg Pak created and introduced to the Marvel Universe. Essentially figures out is 17-year-old Korean American kid figures out a way to extract the Hulk from Bruce Banner so Bruce Banner can live a normal life. And then Amadeus Cho then assumes the mantle of the Hulk, essentially just infuses the Hulk into him. And then you have a 17-year-old teenager who turns into the Hulk, and he's like again the Totally Awesome Hulk. He's like a sort of a rad dude, but he's just like if you essentially crossing Peter Parker like Spider-Man with the Hulk. It's like let's give the abilities of Hulk to a teenager and see what he does with it. Yeah. So he does like a lot of fun stuff. He's usually just having fun, and he's like hormonally active. So he's like hitting on these Marvel villainesses and stuff, and they would just like kick his ass because he's just a dumb kid.
Right. Yeah.
And then he's just like eating $300 worth of hamburgers, and it's just like it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And then they get into some other stuff too. That's a little bit darker, but I think you can't really tell a Hulk story without getting into some darker elements.
Yeah, sure.
But anyways, this is a great book. There's a guy that I would love to see directed. I don't know if he would want to. I don't know if he might be a little bit old to. Yeah, he's not a teenager. You'd have to find somebody to cast him. So there's a guy named Justin Chon who just recently. This movie is not. He was in. Yeah, he was in the Twilight movies, I guess. I never watched those.
Oh, here he is. Okay.
Wasn't my bag. Anyways, he just made a movie recently that's not come out yet. I think it comes out this year. It's called Blue Bayou, where I think he stars in it too. Yeah, he stars in it. And he wrote and directed it.
That's cool.
That movie's on it's on my to watch list this year for sure. It's just a drama.
Yeah.
He plays an ex-con in the South, just an Asian American guy who like was born here. I think he was born here, has like a Caucasian partner, and they have a couple of kids together. He's an ex-con. He's just trying to like get his life together, but he's like suffering from judgments based on his former convictions and like and racism in the South and stuff like that. It looks like a heavy flick, but it looks fucking fantastic. I can't wait till it comes out. So yeah,
that's rad. I mean, I really do hope that Marvel. We've seen that. I have no idea. I know it's kind of too early probably to understand what they're gonna do with Spider-Man, although they had a reference to Miles Morales in one of the Spider-Man Tom Holland flicks with Donald Glover's character.
Donald Glover played Miles Morales' uncle.
Yeah. And I kind of really do hope that the MCU never reboots Like,
Yeah, I don't think that they need
you
to.
could
I
just
think that
keep it going for like decades at this point.
I believe what they're doing is they're going to fold in some different levels or different lines of continuity, and they're going to do that in the Spider-Man movie, and then also in the Doctor Strange
Yeah.
movie, the multiverse, Madness in the
Madness,
Multiverse
yeah.
or whatever. So, which should be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't see a reason for them to reboot.
I mean,
I'd love to see Marvel do different stuff because there's so much stuff that Marvel put out over the years, even just outside of superhero stuff.
Yeah.
They were doing kids books. You look at all the stuff that they put out in the 80s under the Star Comics imprint. Look at the stuff going back to the 70s. They had a knockoff of a heavy metal magazine called Epic Illustrated.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
There's some I bought a couple issues of that, and I got them with my heavy metals. There's some great stuff in there. It's a lot of it was just like the 70s, and it was like, Marvel was like, oh, we're going to do something creator owned. So you guys, you just do what you want. It was like giving Jim Starlin carte blanche to just do weird arty stuff. And some of it's fucking fantastic. I love that stuff.
I like it. Let's see here. Okay. So I sort of gave away two of mine with one shot, the Justice League and Mr. Miracle. So I'm going to go, this is my last one. It's the only one I have from Marvel on here. And although I do actually I've got some runner-ups here. So I've got a couple more, but this is on my official list. And it's Ghost Rider. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I honestly kind of feel like you just bring Nick Cage back for Ghost Rider and bring Nick Cage into the MCU, man. But here's who directs it.
I thought they already cast Ghost Rider.
Did they?
At some point? I thought they were. Maybe I'm wrong.
I know that they cast Blade, but I don't know about Ghost Rider. Maybe they did.
Well, who'd you want to direct it?
Brandon Cronenberg.
Oh, cool! I'd love to see him do something.
I have not
Marvel.
seen
That'd be awesome.
His second movie, but his first movie, Antiviral, was
really good.
Yeah. And then he did another one just kind of recently, and I want to check that out still. It always
if you're going to do Cronenberg, and maybe if Nick Cage doesn't want to do, I'm not against that. But speaking of Antiviral, the guy that he had acting in that, Caleb Landry Jones, is fantastic.
Oh, okay.
I just saw him recently. I think he would be a good Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
He's got a very interesting look to him. But I just watched him recently in the Jim Jarmusch movie. What is it? The zombie one. I literally just watched it.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah.
The Dead Don't Die.
Oh, is that a good one?
It was great. It's
fun.
on HBO Max. Check it
Oh,
out.
okay.
Really
Okay.
fun.
We'll check it out.
The cast is stellar.
It's,
Bill Murray, Adam Driver.
Adam Driver's in that movie. Yeah.
Everybody in it's fantastic.
I always felt Adam Driver would be a great Batman.
Yeah, he'd be great. I wonder if he's even interested in doing any kind of superhero stuff. Maybe he got a little burnt out being in the Star Wars universe.
Like all these fucking fans getting on my shit about every little thing I do.
It's tough, man. That would be tough.
I can't imagine. I mean, some of those movies have driven people off their social media. What's her face? Was it Kelly Chan? Is that her name?
Yeah.
She couldn't even have an Instagram anymore because people were so upset about that Rose character.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
I get it. People need to chill out. I remember that. As an old school nerd, I was just shocked about some the way that nerds react to certain things. I remember when they cast in the Fantastic Four movies, which I have the two good ones, or at least the two decent ones that Tim Story directed. Mm-hmm. I actually kind of like those movies. I think they're fairly charming.
Yeah, they're very comic booky.
Yeah. But when they cast Jessica Alba as Sue Storm, and all the nerds lost their shit because it's Sue Storm is blonde hair and blue eyed, and it's like who fucking cares? You've seen the character, you've seen different renditions of the character over the years from different artists. You don't have to pigeonhole her. She can be anything.
Well, the really shitty thing too is that if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, legendary comic artist John Byrne ran her down too in a semi-racist way. Yeah,
that was inappropriate. I'm still mad at John Byrne with that.
And
it sucks too because I grew up reading Sensational She-Hulk, and John Byrne was great on that book.
Oh, dude, I like so much of his stuff.
X-Men. Yeah, it's and it sucks to be dude, why you got to be an asshole?
Yeah, seriously. Yeah,
just Jesus.
Would you have any others?
Yeah, what's a good one? I'm saving my main one for my number one slot. What would be really cool? You know what would be really cool? This is my brother's favorite comic when we were kids.
Is it Deep Space Nine Season 4? That's his favorite comic book as a kid. Oh, ElfQuest. Sure,
ElfQuest.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
There's so much material here, and the art in ElfQuest is just fantastic. It's so beautiful. It's a really great fantasy book, independent book. Paul and Richard Pini.
Pini, yeah. I remember them.
Pini.
Yeah.
And Wendy and Richard Pini, a husband and wife team, if I remember.
Yeah,
husband and wife team. Yeah, it's funny if you research them, you'll find old pictures at some point in the 70s because ElfQuest's been going on for a while.
Mm-hmm.
You find pictures of Wendy Pini at like Comic-Con in the late 70s because Marvel had hired her to write Red Sonja. Coming off of the success of ElfQuest, they're like, "Oh, we got fantasy characters. You want to do Red Sonja?" And she's like, "Yeah, great, I'll do it." And you see pictures where she went to Comic-Con and cosplayed as Red Sonja because she's like 6 feet tall and gorgeous, which she was in the 70s. I'm sure she still looks great now.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's so weird to see that because you see that stuff all the time now. It's like all over Instagram. But back then in the 70s, it was like Comic-Con was like literally in a basement in San Diego, and it was like 150 sweaty male nerds.
Holy crap! Look at that.
Right?
She looks legit. Oh
yeah, it's crazy. So to see that back in the 70s is so wild to me, and also to just be like, oh, that's one of the things I love about comic books is that they've always been so low level inclusive and just so respectful and just such a great community. You know, like nerds are it's funny we go from like talking about like why are nerds such assholes to now being like nerds are so great, right? We really do run the gamut, though.
With everything, though. With everything, like every fandom has its own level of toxicity. Yeah. There was somebody on Twitter today. There was a tweet that I saw, and I don't even know who this person is, but they said something like, "Wrestling Twitter is the absolute worst." Wrestling Twitter will make you hate wrestling or something like that. And then I look, and this person is following 10,000 people on Twitter.
That's way too many.
Like, just for context, like, I don't even know, like, for context, I'm following a little under 1,000, but I honestly think I've muted so many of those that, like, I honestly only try to follow people that, like, I'm interested in what they're saying, you know, not just following people for the sake of, like, trying to get people to follow me.
Yeah.
And, like, if you're following that many people, you're going to see toxicity everywhere, you know, because it's impossible not to at that point. Unless you have that, like, unless you literally have like 10 different topics that you're really that interested in.
Yeah.
Here's another one that I feel like will nowadays it might be considered passé, which is really sad because this book is one of the most interesting explorations on superheroes that I've ever read, and it's Astro City.
Oh yeah.
But I wonder if because
there's so many revisionist superhero stories out there already, is it just too much? Yeah.
And so many of them are so like, okay, I can imagine somebody trying to pitch this in a meeting now. And they're like, okay, well, is the Samaritan, is he going to blow up anybody's head? What's his dark secret? And it's like, no, he's just like, you know, it's like, yeah, obviously he's sort of a cipher for Superman, but you know, they're doing really interesting things. Like Kurt Busiek does really, like there's one story about a guy who he's, if I recall correctly, it's been a while since I've read it, but it's a guy who so it's sort of set, the backdrop is sort of like there was their own Crisis on Infinite Earths type event. And this guy, his wife had been like sort of retconned out of history, and he has dreams about her. But now she doesn't exist because his universe was altered in that small way so that she ceased to exist. But he still remembers her.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's basically on the periphery of superheroes. But then there are like, you know, there are stories that involve the superheroes directly as well. But I'm like, God damn, what a chilling idea, you know? And it's just every single story is impactful in this series. But it's almost quaint at this point, you know? It's like, well, why do stuff that's more subtle when you can have the Homelander, you know, exploding people's brains in front of you? Yeah. Which might be a cynical point of view, but yeah, I do feel like it's like, man, I don't know if there's room for this these days because it really is groundbreaking. Like, it was just an amazing comic. It was really great. And the artist, Brent Anderson, pretty sure he's a local. I think he was like a Sacramento guy.
No kidding.
Yeah, he used to be at SatCon a lot back in the day.
Yeah. What are you? Are you at 3 or 4?
Oh, I don't know. I think I just started. I sort of went off the rails. Like I grabbed these off the shelf after I had already done my 5. So
Yeah.
just whatever you want to do next.
I'll tell you what I want. Did you have a director for Astro City, by the way? Did you
No,
say?
these ones I just pulled off
Oh,
the
yeah?
shelf, and I stopped thinking of directors for them.
This is probably the only director that I might have for this one, just because we just talked about him. But this is one of the greats. I know that there was a rendition of Silver Surfer in one of the Fantastic Four movies, obviously. It was Doug Jones, who I love dearly. He's so fantastic in everything that he ever does.
did not know that was Doug
It was
Jones.
Doug Jones, yeah.
Holy
all the
shit.
stuff that he's done in Guillermo del Toro movies, including Pan's Labyrinth, which is one of my favorite films
He was
ever.
the Silver Surfer, and
He was the Silver Surfer in Rise of the Silver Surfer.
but it was
Fantastic
Lawrence
Four.
Fishburne that did his voice, right?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, it wasn't Lawrence
that's
Fishburne
like-
in like a Silver Surfer suit.
No. Yeah, but yeah, that's a weird thing. Is like he played Abe Sapien in the first Hellboy movie, but David Hyde Pierce did his voice. But then in the second one,
Just let him do the voice. He's
he played
great.
in the second one, he played Abe Sapien, and they let him do the voice.
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah,
That's
and I
great.
love that second one. Anyways, he's fantastic.
He's in
He did a
Discovery
great-
right now. He's in Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's great on Discovery.
awesome, yeah.
He's so good. His body movements are so
Oh
fantastic.
yeah.
Anyways, he was a great Silver Surfer. I don't know. I guess he could do it now. I mean, he's still obviously active. He'd be great. But the director I would love to see in this adaptation of this, Terrible, which is
Oh yeah, that's
absolutely
good.
one of the greatest
Yeah.
comics ever done, is Mobius and Stan Lee.
Mobius, yeah.
It's not a thick book, but it's just so dense and so existentially interesting. You're talking about the Silver Surfer's dilemmas about like how he feels about being the Herald of Galactus and finding worlds for him to consume and that stuff. And the art is just gorgeous.
The art is amazing. In there.
Yeah, Mobius is just so good. But yeah, this is just such a great book, and I would love to see this get adapted and directed by Denis Villeneuve. I think it would be great.
Man, that's great. Yeah.
I would love to see that. It'd be fantastic.
How much? I have not read that in a long time. Like
I need to reread it. I loaned it to a buddy who actually moved.
when I think of Stan Lee, I
during
just
the
think of like the
pandemic,
cheesiest diet. Like, is it like
No, it's really
good
good.
stuff?
Yeah. No, I mean, this is honestly, and this is like routinely, Stan Lee would always be like, that book is the best thing I ever wrote.
Oh, really?
It is.
Huh.
It is really quite good.
Yeah.
I should reread it though. Maybe I'm sure there's a couple of things that I'm just gonna like.
I'm wondering. I'm like, how much of it is Mobius, and how much
Yeah.
of it? Oh, hey, it's what do
Well,
they
that's
used to
like a
call
lot of people always said that Stan Lee would just be like, would just sort of toss ideas out there, and the writer and artist did, or the artist was like essentially the writer as well.
Yeah,
Would just do everything.
Yeah.
But who knows? Anyways, it's a great book, and I would love to see it adapted into a movie. I
feel
think
like-
that is quintessentially the best Silver Surfer story for sure.
Yeah. That latest one is pretty good. Didn't you mention? What was it called?
Silver Surfer Black is fantastic.
yes. Yeah, you said that was really good. I have to
That's
check that
Donny
out.
Cates one. Yeah.
Oh, that's right, Donny Cates. Yeah.
That was sort of how he introduced what he's doing now in Venom and stuff with Lord Null and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great book. I loved it. That was one of my top books last year, I think.
I feel like
it came
it's
out last year.
crazy that comic books got lucky enough to have Mobius care about them, because
Yeah.
Mobius like was totally like a mainstream. Like that guy really, the fact that he was into comics makes comics so lucky, because he didn't need to be, he could
totally.
have just done his own shit.
Oh, he could have done anything.
So this is again just something I pulled off the shelf, but it'd be great. Grant Morrison's Animal Man, which this cover says
Oh, yeah.
everything, because look at the dude is just, it's all just one big existential crisis for Animal Man. It's like it's like a really gnarly take on how gross, like, okay, so this is a great page right here. So Animal Man gets his arm ripped off right here. He's fighting this big roided out dude. He gets his arm ripped off, and then like his powers sort of call out to like the earthworms, and his arm like gruesomely grows back.
Yeah,
And it's
so
great
body
scene.
horror. It's great.
It is, yeah, it totally. I mean, talk about Cronen. Like maybe Papa Cronenberg could do this.
Either one of the Cronenberg
Yeah.
fellows would be great at that.
He's like fighting this like mutated rat guy, and it's such a comic booky thing. But then when the mutated rat guy, like, I mean, God, look at this, is so horrible, and it's such like a commentary on friggin' animal abuse, like in the laboratories. Like, this is a cover right here, and it's like got this pussed out poor monkey in a cage, and it's like basically an environmental book as well.
Yeah, totally.
It's really great stuff, though. It's really terrific stuff, and it's again Grant Morrison sort of turning superheroes on its head. I forgot about this. There's this terrific sequence where like Wile E. Coyote materializes in like real life, and like this hunter comes and finds him and like shoots him. And
man, I haven't read that since I was a teenager.
It's so messed up. It is so like, yeah, all the tropes from like your Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner stuff is in here. Like he gets shot and then he gets like the boulder dropped on him, but it all happens like real life.
Yeah.
It's just really dark. So like Grant Morrison just at his absolute peak. Oh, it's chilling stuff.
Yeah. I love Grant Morrison.
Yeah, he's terrific. He's balls out.
No. All right. My so I think this is number 5 for me.
All right.
So I'm gonna go with my number 1 comic that I would love to see adapted. I actually have a director choice for this one too. I don't own it actually. When I read it,
is it just like a collection of like Robert Crumb drawing naked women?
Oh, totally. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, I want to see
directed
that on
by
IMAX.
you. You're like directed
IMAX,
by Jeff.
Yeah. In IMAX for
In
sure.
IMAX.
I will be the only person in the theater watching that. Talking about Donny Cates, God Country is easily one of my favorite comic books.
I have heard that, and I have not read that.
Of the last decade.
Oh, wow.
It's probably absolutely one of my favorite comics. And I found it because my introduction to Donny Cates was Thanos Wins, this art that he did in Thanos.
Yeah, sure.
Where he created and introduced Cosmic Ghost Rider and did a bunch of crazy stuff that was a lifelong Marvel fan I was just losing my mind for. Mm-hmm. And I went back and started reading some of the stuff he did. He did a book called God Country with Jeff Shaw. Jeff Shaw. Great book. It is a self-contained thing. If you get the graphic novel, I was going to say I checked it out from the library on Hoopla, which is a great app for reading comics, by the way, on your tablet. If you have a library card, a lot of cities will allow you to access Hoopla totally for free and check out a couple things a month. You get like 10 or 12 things that you can check out a month. That's how I read Totally Awesome Hulk too.
Okay.
So they have really great comic books. God Country is a book about a character, this old guy named Emmett in Texas, in the middle of Texas. His wife passed away, and he is slipping into kind of like dementia, Alzheimer's territory. And out of nowhere, there is going to be a god, an evil god, almost like a trickster god, almost like Loki, is coming to our plane of reality. And as a result of that, a epic, legendary, mythological blade called Valofex appears. And that is a blade of in mythology that is I don't know if this is actual. I think it is actual mythology, and Cates just appropriated it for this book. In the book in God Country, that this blade Valofex is like, it's kind of like Mjolnir. It's kind of like Thor's hammer. It can only be wielded by somebody who is worthy, and whoever wields it becomes the warrior, like the iconic warrior. Yeah. And this old Texan. This is like 65-year-old Texan who's like in the throes of Alzheimer's, losing his memory about everything, is actually the warrior. He's the best warrior on our planet at that time to fight this god who's going to appear. So Valofex appears to him and is like, you need to wield me and you need to fight this evil god that's going to appear because otherwise your world is doomed. But because when he wields Valofex, he actually gets all of his memories back.
Oh shit!
So he has to face this horrible evil god, but also confront his memories of his wife who died, who, that, and all his memories were slipping away and they flood back. So he's got to confront the emotional reality of that while he's facing this demon. It's just such a fantastic book.
Goddamn, I'll check it out.
I love it. And I would, I don't know who would play. You get an older dude to play Emmett. Who'd be interesting? Maybe like in the comics, he's a real burly dude.
Let's get like a Jonah Hill, but with like a gray wig on.
Yeah, well,
that was a joke.
Yeah, I know. I was there for you for a second, and then I was like, "Oh."
About Josh Brolin with a gray wig.
Josh Brolin would be great.
He's awesome.
Oh, he'd be great. Yeah, he definitely has the gravitas to pull it off. He'd be fantastic. But yeah, I was thinking, this guy, what is it? Taylor Sheridan is a guy that wrote a movie. Right? Yeah, he wrote a movie called Hell or High Water and Sicario.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I saw Hell or High Water.
He wrote those movies. Yeah. He just recently wrote and directed Those Who Wish Me Dead. That's out on HBO Max right now, which I have not watched yet. I've heard kind of mixed reviews. I'm sure it's good, but he's like, I would love to see him tackle that because he does have a great respect and sort of understanding of like Westerns. Like if you watch Hell or High Water, you get that immediately. Like it's like modern Western.
That's a terrific movie.
So, and God Country is such like a Texas story. Cates is from Texas and like,
yeah.
So, and he really clearly loves Texas and puts that love into God Country. It's really just a fantastic book. And I would love to see it adapted for the big screen and get that kind of treatment. It'd be great.
Have you seen, speaking of Westerns, have you seen The Sisters Brothers? It's with
John I still need to watch it.
It's a fun movie.
It's like great. It's got to be just a joyous thing.
It really is. Yeah, we saw that.
Check it out.
I think did Lacey and I or my dad and I forget who. I think Lacey and I went to go see it in theaters.
Yeah, good movie to watch with your dad.
It's a rad flick. It's a really good one. I got a couple other options here. I've got, of course, Alan Moore and I think Neil Gaiman did some of this. Miracle Man.
Oh yeah, Miracle Man. Great.
This would fit in perfectly for today because it's like, I think this is like one of the first, or at least one of the first popular takes on, sort of the darker aspects of superheroism. Like his protege ends up being this real son of a bitch, and you've got a lot of dark themes in this one. The Invisibles, which I think actually landed in court against the Matrix because they were claiming, Grant Morrison was claiming that the Matrix just stole a bunch of shit from the Invisibles.
Yeah, that's wild. I think the Matrix just stole a bunch of shit from everything. Yeah, it was just like the Matrix is just kind of a sci-fi pastiche.
It really is,
or like a collage. Like,
and in fact, I haven't even read. This is one of those books that like I've read like the first volume, I think.
Sure.
And I have all the others, and I've never read it, but I was like, I've heard so many great things about it, and I just sort of keep on putting it off for some reason. I don't know why. And that's all I got. So,
I'll do one more off the cuff, which would be because I was thinking of like, you talk about there's a lot of derivative characters crossing between DC and Marvel, and there's a couple different Marvel Superman characters, right? Like there's obvious Marvel ripoffs. Like you got Gladiator, the Kree Warrior, and then you got like what is it? Omega Man? Is the Supreme or something?
Supreme, yeah.
Supreme, yeah.
Supreme's great.
Anyways, Supreme's awesome.
Yeah.
But I actually this is at the heyday of when we were reading Wizard magazine in the 90s, and they retconned a character called Sentry. I really like Sentry.
That's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of Sentry,
No, maybe it's Hyperion. He's in the Supreme. Whatever.
Squadron Supreme or something.
Squadron Supreme, that's right. Yeah. And his name is Hyperion. He's like a total Superman.
The story of Sentry was awesome.
Sentry is really cool, yeah. Yeah, because this is sort of before the internet, and they retconned via Wizard magazine, which was like in the late 90s. It's like that's how you got your nerd information. That's how you got your nerd fix. You go to the comic store, buy comics, and you'd always pick up Wizard the first day it was out. And they wrote an article about, this is a dusty old Marvel character that time forgot.
Yeah.
And now they're putting it out in a new book. But it's funny. It was like self-reflexive in a way, because in the comics, Sentry is a character who was essentially a Superman in the middle part of the 20th century, in the Marvel universe at least, but then makes him like sort of like erases himself to better the world. Like he's like, oh, I can't be in this world anymore, so I need to erase myself.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, no, they're bringing him back, and they're bringing him back like he's bringing himself back in the books. But he was a totally new character that they just made up.
Yeah. I remember being fooled by that too. I was like, oh wow, this is cool.
I mean, so many of us were. We were like, oh yeah, because Wizard was in on the joke. They were in on the thing. And Wizard at that point was just like, again, that was how you got your comic news.
You
know, and like
what a shitty thing to do in retrospect.
No, it was a good.
It's honestly, awesome, but it's like, God, what a violation.
Really character, yeah, for sure. But yeah, I always love that. I thought that was, and he's a good character. They did some good. I think they just killed him off recently. So
yeah, I can't. I'll be honest, man. I can't follow what they're doing. Like, it's difficult to follow. I think Marvel kind of recently. I don't even know, was that recent? Like, kind of rebooted their continuity a little bit.
Oh, they're just always doing that. Yeah, they just did a big like a big reboot thing.
Yeah.
But there's now like on a lot of Marvel books, they have like Avengers and stuff. They came out with like Avengers #1, but then there's a number underneath that's like the actual numbers, and it's called the legacy numbers. It's just as LGY, like number 765 or something. So it's like
a mess.
It's like, what are you guys doing? Like, just like commit to it, you know, like one way or the other. Choose a goddamn lane, guys. Like, come on.
Yeah, I find it really difficult. Like, it's funny because with DC, so they rebooted their stuff. Like, I mean, they reboot all the time, but when they did like one of their later reboots, it was when, I don't know if it was the New 52 or when Grant Morrison, I don't know when it was, but the kind of cool thing about it was that the Superman that I always liked from like the early 90s, who was the Superman from like probably the 60s until probably like the 2000s, I think. It was like the same guy. He was like always 29, and it was always set in that one period of time. And they would just sort of move the time. They would shift the timeline decades every decade. Yeah. And like that character, they had like move into the new continuity, which I thought was kind of cool. It was like, there's like a link to like the books that I was reading, at least. Like that dude remembers shit. But everybody else was kind of new. And I mean, there's always good ideas in them, and I understand you got to freshen stuff up, but it's just difficult, and they're so expensive these days too.
Yeah.
So like,
I do it now because again, I don't have many financial responsibilities. Just like rent. I don't have a kid like you. Like I don't have to worry about that crap. So, and I want to support my local comic book shop.
Oh yeah, sure. But like also like if you want to keep up, like I mean, for I think what $12 or $10 a month, like DC Infinite app has like everything new that's like 6 months old. So it's like if you're okay just waiting 6 months, you can be current with everything they're doing, and you're only paying like $12 a month, which is literally the price of 3 comics these days.
Yeah. I think those apps are great if you really want to read a lot of comic books. I don't have the time for it because I'm
who has the time also?
I don't have the time for it. You know, it's like I think if you're a kid, you know, or you're in your 20s or something, you got a lot more free time. But like I you know, you and I work for a living. You can't be wasting that much time. I know that Dom has the Marvel app and he likes it a lot.
I have that too, and I barely use it, but
you're a DC guy.
Kind of the same. Yeah, I always wanted to keep up with it though. Like just and you know, every once in a while, like I'll go back and read. I'll get really interested in one thing, like, whatever did happen to like Thanos after the Infinity.
Oh, totally. Gauntlet. And that's fun. That's why I just buy trades, or like I'll check out a trade on Hoopla, like I mentioned before. I was like, oh, who did that? And that's what's fun about that too, is you just discover different writers or artists. And that leads you to different books that they've done or that they've done with other people that you like and stuff like that. So it's one of the greatest things about comics, for me at least.
Yeah. And then sometimes you get comics with like boobs in them, which is great.
Yeah, like those Art Crumb books.
Anyways, that's going to do it for us today on the Friendoville podcast. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. Till next time, we'll talk to you later.